Hello friends, today this video is in memory of my Mamaw. She was a very artistic woman with many talents. She was a painter and a junker, and I come by it naturally. She was a beautiful lady, married to my papa for 61 years before he passed away. And they have a love story that is absolutely beautiful. They both loved the Lord with all their heart and were very instrumental in making me become who I am today. And I loved her very dearly, and I'm going to show you some things today that I recreated from some of her thrift hoard. Okay, this is part of my hoard of thrifted items or items that have been given to me. I have this old brush. Some of these things I purchased from Whatnot. This old sifter. There's a little powder box and it is musical, a little wooden trivet. And I have this hinged box that I cannot wait to make over. Future video, stay tuned. I also have a lot of Dollar Tree glass. I have some thrifted ceramics that need to be painted and put transfers on. I have a lot of thrifted stuff. Some of this was from my Mamaw's stash. Some of it's just things I've thrifted or things that people have given to me. But this is part of my stash. Stay tuned to that little chicken down there too. Okay, all the goodies. A little caddy, a birdhouse, the ampersand. I've tried to sell on Whatnot. It will not sell. Nobody wants it. I'm going to make it over. I've got all of these goodies in my stash, all piled up, stacked up. There is some organization to this mess, believe it or not. I have some little boxes, some little wooden boxes, a lot of Dollar Tree hoard, and I use a lot of these things to do crafts with my Sunday school class, so I need multiples of them because I usually have between 10 and 15 fifth and sixth graders in there. You can see a lot of my spindles. Most of my spindles and wood are out in the shop, so this is just what I've brought into the craft cottage. And then here are some more pieces that have just been thrown in and stuck in these little nooks and crannies. And I have some little planters and a few florals that have just been poked in that little shelf. Okay, I told you to pay attention to this chicken. This is a I'm sorry if you love this, but I think it's hideous. So we're going to redo it. We're going to make it over. I'm going to take the JRV cottage color in Anvil, and I'm going to give this 2 good coats. I had to stipple, I had to paint, and it was a little bit difficult to cover. The metal part wasn't, but that part the chicken is on was almost like styrofoam. It was definitely a different medium, but it was a heavy duty some kind of foam. It was very interesting, but lots of texture in this piece. So you're gonna see in the end how awesome it turns out. So I did 2 coats, and then I took vintage linen. You can see the nice coverage I got after 2 coats. And then I'm taking vintage linen with this old chippy brush. And the way you get these nice old chippy brushes is that you just abuse them. You just don't take good care of them. And then you have these wonderful chippy brushes that you can do all this dry brushing with. Okay, so I'm going to just do a heavy dry brush. I'm using a light hand, but I have not gotten all the paint off. I'm trying to get the paint on there evenly. That's why I'm dragging it across the paper towel. I want it to be on there evenly, and on the sides, so I can rub the sides of this paintbrush across and get this beautiful look. I love this look. That welcome in that metal rope is got to go. I could not take it off. So you will see in the end, I'm going to put a big bow up there. Okay, we're going to take off. Oh, I'm making a way to hang it now. So I'm just going to take some twine and put it through those holes where I took that chain off because the chain was broken. The chain would have been fine, but the chain was broken. So I'm just gonna make a little hanger out of some twine. And then I had this black and white check ribbon in my stash that I've been using for a long, long time. And I'm just going to take 2 long pieces to reach across. The lengths will reach across, well, I can't find the words to say what I'm trying to say. You can just see how long they are. They go from side to side. And I'm going to tie it to this, and I can't get it through there, so I'm using my tweezers. And I'm going to use the ribbon that I tied around the center of it. And I thought I was going to tie it back there, but then I thought, it's going to make it a big fat knot back there. So I didn't like that idea. So I decided I would take my glue gun and just glue those pieces down, and this is not going to go anywhere. And then I just made a 3-loop bow, and I'm just going to glue it to the center of that. And voila! Super, super easy. This little wooden caddy looks like it was from the 90s. That heart gives it away. I just gave it a good cleaning with some cleaner and my rag and took it outside and sanded it down a little bit. And I love how chippy it looks. I love the look it gave. But the inside of it, I could not get to look like I wanted it to. I love how the handle's all chippy. But the inside, I couldn't get it in there to sand it. I couldn't get it to look like I wanted it to. And I was going to put some decoupage paper in there anyway. So I love this. This is from Roycycled. I got it from Sammy over at unicorndustdesigns.com. And now I'm going to just fit this down in so I'm using the bottom side of it to measure it, but I'm just using my fingernail to press it in there to see how big I want it. Then I'm just going to cut the paper down to the size and what I want. Now, we are going to keep those scraps because you're going to see what I'm going to do with the scraps later on in this video. We don't throw anything away. Obviously, I inherited that trait. Okay, so I'm going to spritz. My friend Brandy says give it a little spritzy spritz. I love that. If you're not watching Brandy from the DIY Struggle, go over and check her out. She is amazing. She is so fun to watch. Now I'm going to use Mod Podge with this decoupage paper, and I'm just going to squirt some Mod Podge, and I'm going to use this fan brush. Now these you can get from Brandy on her website, DIYstruggle.com, and I learned to use these from her, and I used to not like to do anything but the iron-on method, but since I started using this fan brush to do decoupage, it is a game changer. And wetting the decoupage paper. All the tricks. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just using whatever leftover Mod Podge was on the brush and the moisture from the paper to adhere it down. I'm going to continue with this method all the way across, just doing small little sections at a time. I did get a lot of Mod Podge on there to start with. I normally just do a little bit at a time, but I got a lot on there. A little bit overkill. So it works out fine though. I just put the paper down a little bit at a time. No wrinkles at all. This is just a great method. Oh, got my paper a little bit too long. No worries. I'm going to be super careful because this paper's wet. I'm going to go really slow and use my X-Acto knife and get rid of that paper. Now, I had these resin pieces already poured, and I had a pig and a sheep and some flowers and some wheat. So we're going to cover up those holes. Those hearts, those cut out hearts. Yes, we're going to cover those up. We're going to make these look a little more modern. So I'm going to take Old School. It's a very nice charcoal gray, and I'm going to stipple it over this. I believe I did 2 coats because I wanted it to be nice and thick on there. And then once that is completely dry, I'm going to use Cake Batter by DIY. I get all my DIY paints, IOD products, Saltwash, all the goodies from Sammy over at unicorndustdesigns.com. So head over there if you're interested. I'm going to use some faded burlap on the sheep. No, sandy blonde. I told the story. I'm going to use Sandy Blonde on the sheep. And we're going to stipple that on there really good. I'm going to take vintage linen. I'm going to put that on the little flowers. I'm just going to cover the entire thing with one coat. It's got nice coverage. Taking the vintage linen and dry brushing our little piggy to bring out all the details. Same method I used with the chicken earlier. Chicken, hen, rooster, whatever that was. I'm going to do the same thing with the wheat. Just bringing out the texture, bringing out the details, giving it all a good dry brush, like a whitewash. Now I'm going to glue it on. I'm going to use my Titebond Quick and Thick. I always say use it in the middle and the hot glue on the outside. Don't know why. Didn't do it on this one, but just a little here, a little there. The hot glue is going to help it to hold quickly while the Titebond dries. The Titebond dries very quickly, but this is going to keep it in place because we want to move on. We need to move on. Move on with the next step. And then I'm going to glue those little wheat pieces on the edges like you see me doing right here. And boom, boom, bam. Thank you, ma'am. This is how I'm doing it. I think it turned out really super cute this way. I love using these resin pieces. If you don't have the resin pieces, you could pull pieces off of other projects from Dollar Tree. I have a drawer full of things that I've pulled off of Dollar Tree projects and never used, and so you could use something like that. Now, I had this clay that I didn't really love. I've kind of learned to love it recently, but I decided to use it up. I'm going to fill this hole. Now, you could fill this hole with numerous things, but I'm going to fill it with this clay. I'm just going to poke it in there, and remember that our sheep and our pig are on the other side. Okay, so we're going to fill the hole. I'm going to use my little putty knife to make it smooth, and then I'm going to get out this Rosettes mold by IOD. I use this is probably one of my most used molds, and I'm going to choose this mold right here because I think it kind of looks like a sunflower. Sort of, kind of. Well, you should use your imagination, okay? And I'm going to use some cornstarch in there so that my clay won't stick. This clay did not stick. I was going to use the air dry clay, but this is, I can't even remember what it's called. I'll try to remember to link it in the description box if I can remember what it's called. It's very light and airy and almost rubbery, but see how it popped out so quick? But it will lose its shape very, very easy. So I'm going to use some Titebond Quick and Thick to glue it in there. And then I'm going to, before I glue it, I'm going to trim out where that handle is so that I can get it to go right up underneath the handle. That's what I'm doing right here. Just use that X-Acto knife and then press it up underneath, get it all nice. Now the first one I did like this, and then I glued it with some Titebond, and then I painted it with, pretty sure I used cake batter. Might be faded burlap, friends. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was cake batter. The second time when I did it on the other side, I painted it first and then glued it. Worked much better. Yes, this is definitely cake batter. Okay, so I had to change brushes, get a smaller brush, and it was just a little bit more tedious to do this. This is not air dry clay. It's a different kind of clay. But anyway, it worked out great. It worked out perfect. So now I have some of this drop cloth, canvas drop cloth, and this ticking fabric. This is a cotton fabric. It's not a heavy duty ticking like you would actually make a pillow out of. And I just cut and ripped some strips, and I'm going to wrap that little piece around the center to make a bow. Just a little messy, floppy bow. And then I'm going to fluff it, pull all the little loops out, and fluff till your little heart's content. Then I'm going to take another little strip around the center, and I'm going to tie it to the handle of our caddy. It's going to make it so cute, my friends. It's going to be so cute because it matches our decoupage paper. How fun is this? This is so cute. Wait until you see how I styled it up with some old vintage bobbins, threaded bobbins. Look how cute that is. I'm just checking to see if that's really what I want to do. And I decided it was. I tied this in a double knot. I cut off the excess. Boom, just like that. And this project is complete. And it's double-sided. This clock was probably from the 90s. It was in my Mamaw's little shop out there where she had all her little thrifted stuff. So I took the clock part out. Yeah, I'm like showing you all the little bugs and spiders I had to clean off of it. I cleaned it up real good with some cleaner and took the clock part out, and then yeah, I cleaned it really good because it was dirty, my friends. And then I sanded it down a little bit with a pretty rough grit sandpaper because I wanted my paint to stick to it good. Because I don't even know where this had been, what it had seen, you know. I took this gesso from Folk Art that I had in my stash. Someone gave this to me. I did not purchase it. I thought this was only for canvas, but it's not. I used it on here and it worked great. Worked like a charm. I gave this entire piece a really good coat of this, and the wood, all of it. I thought I was going to, I started thinking I was going to go one direction, and then I ended up going a different direction. So you're going to see me like go, oh no, I didn't show that on camera. Good. So I started taping it off, and then I decided I was going to paint the entire thing with faded burlap. I love this color. It's such a beautiful color. So I paint the entire front of it. The back of it I painted with layered chocolate because I was afraid some of that old dark wood would, you know, the tannins and such would come through. So I have this. Remember that piece that we cut off for the caddy earlier? Well, this was part of that paper. I'm going to measure it out, see how much I need. I cut it, and then I'm going to do this little method where you get it wet and then rip it because I want that little torn edge. I just love that look. So I'm just showing you different ways that you can do that. I like to use my little putty knife. I feel like it gives me a little bit more control. Sometimes I just use my fingers and just rip it. No rhyme or reason always to why I do what I do. Now we're going to give it a little spritz with our mister. And I love this mister bottle. If you don't have one, you can get them on Amazon. I probably have it linked in my Amazon store if you're interested in going and checking that out. I have a lot of goodies linked in there that I love to craft with. So you can check that out if you're interested in seeing what I like. So same method here, nothing new. I'm just going to put that Mod Podge down right where I want it. I'm going to start with one little layer, making sure I get it all the way out to the edge of that piece of tile. I don't want it on the wood part, just on the tile part. And then I'm going to wet my brush down a little bit in that water that got on the table. And then I'm going to take my very wet decoupage paper. It's very wet. And I'm going to lay it right down on top of there and smooth it out with my paintbrush, just like we have done in previous projects. I know this may seem redundant, but remember, sometimes we have new friends here who haven't seen this process, and maybe it's new to them. So we're going to take our time and show them how to do it. Okay, this is normally how I do it, not like I did it on the caddy. So I just got a little too much Mod Podge on the other project. But this one, we're just going to put that Mod Podge down, making sure we're getting it all around the edges, friends, and then smooth it out with this wonderful fan brush. And look how beautiful it is. No wrinkles. I wouldn't even care if this had a little bit of wrinkles, but it doesn't. Okay, it's all completely dry. Everything's all dry. And now I'm going to get my black IOD ink out, and this beautiful chicken, hen, rooster. Y'all tell me. I don't even know how to tell if it's a hen or a rooster or whatever just by looking at it like that. But we're going to call it a chicken. We're going to put this chicken on here with some ink. We're going to ink up our stamp really good, making sure we don't have any excess on the edges, and we're going to put it down all over. If it hangs over the edges, that's okay. That's okay. We like it. Okay, I'm going to grab this felt stamp press. It's a stamp presser. I don't really know what it's called. That's what I'm calling it. I'm going to make sure that I'm getting that around the edge because I want it to go off the edge over there. And then I'm just going to hold really tight with one hand. I am not lifting up my left hand. And then I'm going to smooth it down with my right hand with that presser, stamp presser. I have no idea what it's called. That's what I'm calling it. It's in my Amazon storefront, so go look and see what it's called. I have that little area right there, no problem. This is the glorious thing about these stamps. You can just go back and stamp right on top. Line it up and stamp back on top. I'm going to take some dark wax by IOD, just what was left in my brush from the previous project, which, you know, I always have a little left in there. And I'm just going to wax this part, the part that's faded burlap. I'm going to put some darker parts where I think it should be darker, and then the other parts just to seal it in, and I'm going to go over it, over the top of that stamp with, I think I sprayed it with a matte sealer. Okay, friends, this was not thrifted. My grandson picked this up for me at Ollie's for $1.99. So sweet, because he knew I would craft with it. I thought that was so sweet of him. It has a little stand or a little hanger. So we're going to take some of that paper that we had left over. And I love that I had one piece that was this direction and one piece that was that direction. Do you see that I have two different directions going here? I'm not going to show you every little single bit of how I did this, okay? But I'm going to put, so I have straps going vertical and straps going horizontal with this same decoupage paper that looks like ticking, okay? And then I painted one slat, and then I used some scrapbook paper on the other one. I wanted all the slats to look a little bit different, but, you know, go together, if that makes sense. You're going to see. I'm not going to leave you hanging, I promise. Okay, so here we go. We're just doing that same method that we've done on all the other projects. This should have been a decoupage project. I didn't realize I decoupaged so much in this video. It should have titled it a decoupage. Thrifting decoupage video. Okay, so here, now that was just a little bit long, so we're just going to pinch it off, have it look a little bit rustic, seal it all down, make sure it's all nice and sealed. Then I'm going to take Barn Red by Dixie Belle. This is a beautiful red, and I'm going to give it a rough, this is a very rough piece of wood, palette wood, and I just gave it a rough coat. I didn't want full coverage. Now this scrapbook paper, same method I did with the decoupage paper. I wet the paper, and I'm using the Mod Podge. The same method works great. Then I sanded. I'm going to sand all of it a little bit, and just give it that rustic look. But when I sanded the paper on the very top rung, I kind of messed it up a little bit. So I decided to get out the DIY Dark and Decrepit. It's dirt. It's like dirt. So I decided to put some Mod Podge on those places where that scrapbook paper ended up being white. And then I just dusted a little bit of that Dark and Decrepit on there, and then I took a paintbrush and just sort of moved it around a little bit, got the excess off, and I ended up I just kept messing with it till I got the look I wanted, right? And then just getting it to look dirty. Where those edges, I could have done dark wax, but I really like how this turned out and looked. I really like how this turned out. I really like the way this looked. Oh boy, y'all hang with me, okay? Hang with me. We're going to glue this little metal decor piece from Dollar Tree. I haven't seen these farm animals there in a long time. I've had this in my stash. We're going to glue that on there, glue a little piece of twine, and give her a little bow to cover up that hole. And I was trying to figure out what to do with that other hole over there on the feathers. And I found this little tag in my stash that I had painted and never used. And so I thought, well, that might look kind of cute hanging there. let's see if we can make it not look awkward. So I put a piece of red twine in it just to kind of tie in with the other red on there. And then I just wrote in my handwriting, "Welcome to our coop." And then I thought that looked a little too clean. So I took the sandpaper and I sanded the edges a little bit, and then I just sanded lightly over the words. Now I'm going to glue it right over that little hole, and nobody will ever know it's there unless you tell them. And then I'm going to glue the scarlet thread over and behind, and then cut off the excess. And this one will be done. So let me know what you think about these DIYs, my friend. And let me know which one is your favorite. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe. Please leave me a comment down below. But most of all, I want you to remember to be still and know that He is God.